hope that you are having a good day so far. So, today we will be doing our grade 2 English lesson on to be and to have. So, we are going to be doing our grade 2 English lesson on to be and to have. And before we go into our chapter lesson, or let's say the class for today, we're going to log into a+students.ca. Once we've logged into a+students.ca with our username as well as your password, and then we're going to select the subject of language arts. And then we choose grade 2. All right, so once you have selected grade 2, and then you're going to scroll down up until you get to the chapter of to be and to have. And the chapter that we're going to be focusing on, we say that the chapter is to be and to have. The subject is English, or we can say it's language arts. Grade 2. And our lessons that we are going to be focusing on today is to be, which is to use the correct present tense form. And remember, the present tense, it means it is happening now. To be, right, is to use also the correct past tense form. And the past tense, it means that something happened already. It's in the past, happened already, or it already happened. And to be, where we will also use the correct form. And the correct form, either if it's present, if it's past, or to use the correct wording, such as either am, is, are, have, or has. And we are doing our tutorial lesson on a+students.ca. So which means that if you do want to go back to the lessons and you want to recap, go over certain things, right? And then you can go to a+students.ca. On the board we have, or on the screen, we have the chapter, which is to be and to have, the subject, which is English language art, grade 2, and then here we have our lesson focuses, or the focus lessons. All right. So to be and to have, right? It's basically a verb, right? And the verb to be is irregular, right? So we do have regular verbs and we have irregular verbs, right? With regular verbs, it's like we just added like one wording to it, or let's say a letter to it, and then it's basically just something that you constantly follow, right? So, for example, maybe with irregular verbs, you maybe just add d or ed to the specific verb, and then that is basically the standard of whenever we either talk in the present tense, past tense, but that is how the verb changes. But when it comes to irregular verbs, right, the verb to be is irregular. There's no rules that one follows. You are just going to have to know it. So in this case, where to be and to have, right, the verb to be is irregular. So we say that the verb to be is irregular. And usually, when the verb to be or when the verb is irregular, it does not follow the rules that most verbs follow. And remember, I made an example where I said that the with regular verbs, we either add a D or we add an ED to the specific word, right? And that is basically rules that they follow, right? It's like if the word changes or the verb changes depending on the tense, and then it's either we fill in a D or an ED depending. So that is almost like a kind of rule that most verbs follow. But when it comes to irregular verbs, or when the verb is irregular, then it does not follow the rules that most verbs follow. You are just going to have to remember the forms. All right. So when it comes to the verbs to be and the verbs to have, right? Then we have words like either I am, you are, he or she, it is, we, you, or they are, right? So that is basically the standard, let's say, words of to be, right? And if we look at an example, right, then I can maybe say of I am. So maybe like I am, right? So am is our standard to be verb, right? Am. So you can either say I am dancing, right? So I am dancing. And that is our present tense form of the word to be, right? I am. What are you doing now? I am dancing, right? If we specifically mention of you, right, then we can say you are. Um, let's say you are happy. Today you are happy. Why? Because it's your birthday, right? You are. And we use the standard form are. We also use are if we want to make mention of more than one person doing something, right? So either if we say we, or you can say they, or you can even say you, because we specifically said you already. Then we say are. Let's maybe say hopping or playing, right? So when we say you, if you're referring to you doing something, we doing something, they doing something, then we say are, right? So we are hopping, or they are hopping, or we can say you are hopping. But if we're only referring to one person, which is either we make mention of him, which is he, or you make mention of she, or you can say it, referring to maybe an animal or a thing, then we say is. Is refers to one person, animal, place, thing doing something, right? So he is, let's say, laughing, right? Or we can say she is laughing, or it is laughing or yawning, right? So these are basically our verbs to be, right? These are our verbs to be. And we basically remember these verbs, which is either am, are, or is. And as you can see here, where you are happy, right? Usually the you refers to the one person, right? So you're probably asking yourself, like, but ma'am, if you said we use are, if we refer to more than one person, then why do we say you are happy? Right? And that is why we say that the verb to be is irregular. Right? There's no standard rule that we need to follow. You are just going to have to remember the form. Right? And that is why we can say you are happy, but it also refers to more than one person doing an action. And if you're only referring to one person doing something, and then we say is, right? And that would probably be the same as you're asking, Miss, but why don't we say you is happy? That is not, it doesn't even sound the same, right? Because your wording also needs to sound correct as much as it must be correct. All right. So basically, to be and to have, right? So these are a few examples of the verbs to be and the verbs to have. So the verbs to be, right? We have I am, you are, he, she, or it, meaning one person, is, we, you, they, more than one person, are, right? And then we already made a few examples of the verbs to be, right? Where we made mention of I am, you are, he, she, or it is, we, you, they, We already made examples of that. Then we also have the verbs to have. And the verbs to have, right, is where we say I have a ball. Right? It refers to something that you are having now. Right? It's now. You have something now. Right? If we maybe say it in the past specifically, right? Then we can maybe say he has, she has, it has, right? Or we say we, you, or they have. So once again, these verbs are irregular, right? There's no standard rules that you need to follow, right? You are just going to have to know the forms. All right, so now we're going to aplusstudents.ca. And on aplusstudents.ca, we're going into our first lesson, which is to use the correct present tense form. And remember, we said present tense form refers to things happening now. It's happening in the present hour. It happens now. Present tense. And we said the verb to be is irregular, right? And we say that it does not follow the rules that most verbs do. You're just going to have to remember the forms. For example, we have our subject and our present verb, right? So the subject, it refers to the person or thing that is doing the action. So if we, for example, if our subject is I, then I need to say I am. I am, and then doing something, right? If a subject is either he, or a subject is either she, or a subject is it, right? And then we need to say is. So it's either he is eating, She is eating, or we can say it is eating. So the subject doing something is. And then we have a subject also, you, we, and they. And this refers to more than one person doing an action. So it's either you are eating, we are eating, or they are eating. So once again, the verb to be is irregular and it does not follow the rules that most of the verbs follow. You are just going to have to remember the forms. All right, so now we're going to complete the sentence with the correct present tense form of to be. So correct, we complete the sentence with the correct present tense form of to be. So we're either going to choose am, is, or are to fill in or basically to complete our sentence. You hardly ever home. You hardly ever home. Do we say you am, you is, or do we say you are? We need to choose one of that words to complete our sentence with the correct present tense form of to be. All right, so if we choose the correct word, or let's say the correct present tense form of to be, then we can say, you are hardly ever home. So you are hardly ever home. So are is our correct present tense form of, to be. You are hardly ever home. All right. We're moving on to the next one. We need to complete the sentence with the correct present tense form of to be. You, which is our subject, right? Now we need to choose our correct present tense form of to be. Do we say, we are either going to choose between these ones. So we either say you am, you is, or you are, so much like your Uncle Matt. So we say you am, you is, or you are, so much like your Uncle Matt. All right, so we basically say you are. So if we choose the correct present tense form of to be, then we're going to say you are so much like your Uncle Matt. You are. So are is our correct form. Are. We don't say you am. We don't say you is. You are, so much like your uncle Matt. All right. He. He. He is our subject, right? And we are going to choose one of these present tense forms of to be, which is either am, we're going to choose is, or we're going to choose are, right? One of these words in order to complete our sentence. So he, do we say he am on the roof fixing the chimney? He is on the roof fixing the chimney, or he are on the roof fixing the chimney. We need to choose the correct present tense form of to be, either am, is, or are. And our subject is he. So if our subject is he, right? And then the present tense for form of to be, right, is do we say he am on the roof fixing the chimney? He is on the roof fixing the chimney, or he are on the roof fixing the chimney. And we can then basically say he is. Because remember we said if we are referring to one person, right? Subject is referring to one person only. And then we say we use the form of to be is. So we use is. Is refers to one person or thing doing something. All right. Now we're going on to our test. And if we're going on to a test, right, then we can say you need to complete the sentence with the correct present tense form of to be. She, we need to choose either between are or we choose between is. She, referring, the subject is one person. So she, do we say she are at her dad's house this weekend? Or do we say she is at her dad's house this weekend? Right? Keeping also in mind how we said that if the subject is singular, referring to one person doing something, then we use the word is. The subject is plural, referring to more than one person doing something, then we say are. So she, do we say she are at her dad's house this weekend, or she is? All right, so if we use or we select, if we select the correct present tense form of to be to complete the sentence, then we will say she is at her dad's house this weekend. She is, and is is correct. And she refers to one person, which is singular. We, right? Our subject refers to more than one person. We. Do we say we are with for the rain, or we am with for the rain? We are or we am with for the rain. We need to choose the correct present tense form of to be to complete our sentence. All right, so if we now choose the correct present tense form of to be, then we can say we are, because are refers to more than one person doing something. So we are wait for the rain, because we can refer to me and someone, me and more than one person. I, I. Do we say I are busy on the computer right now, or I am? So we need to say I am or I are busy on the computer right now. So we need to choose the correct present tense form of to be, either are or am. I. All right, so we basically going to say I am busy on the computer right now. I am. So I am, because we said that when we use the word I, then we say I am. And then we say he, the next one is he am at Johnny's house right now, or he is at Johnny's house right now. So we either say he am at Johnny's house right now, or he is at Johnny's house right now. So we can then say he is at Johnny's house right now. Because he, the subject being singular, referring to one, is, right? Remember we said that if we are referring to one person or thing doing an action, then we say is. If we're referring to more than one person or action as well as you doing something, we say are. And I, we just say am. All right, now we're going on to the next one, which is to use the correct past tense form. And remember, we said the verbs to be is irregular. There's no forms, there's no rule that you need to follow when it comes to the irregular verbs. You are just going to have to know it. All right. Here we say he, right? So he, does he refer to, do we say he being the subject? Do we say he? This is now to complete the sentence with the correct past tense form, right? In the previous lesson, we did it in the present tense form, and we either had to choose between I am, he, she, or it is, we, they, or you are. But now we are completing a sentence with the correct past tense form of to be, right? And we did say that a verb to be, it is irregular and does not follow the rules, right, that most verbs do follow. You're just going to have to remember the forms. So we're either going to choose between was or were. We refer to was. We refer to was. If it is one person doing an action. So either I was, he was, she was, or it was. One person, one subject doing the action. If we refer to more than one person doing the action, we can say you were, we were, they were. Right? So now we say that we're going to number one. We're going to complete the sentence with the correct past tense form of to be. So we either say he was or he were. We need to choose one of that two. He was or he were an animal trainer, sorry, at the Middletown Zoo. All right. So if we refer to he, remember we said he is one person, right? Or the subject is one. So which means that we will say he was. So we're going to circle was because was is our correct answer. So he was an animal trainer at the Middletown Zoo. Was. All right. We now need to complete the sentence with the correct past tense form of the word to be. We. We refers to more than one person. Do we say we was or do we say we were? Do we say we was or do we say we were? So we need to choose one of the two words or let's say the correct past tense form of to be. Do we say we were in the library with Mrs. Jefferson or we was in the library with Mrs. Jefferson? All right, so we can then say we were, referring to more than one person doing something. We were. Was refers to one person doing something. And then once again, we need to complete the sentence with the correct form or the past tense form of to be. She. Do we say she was in third grade last year? Or do we say she were in third grade last year? We either say was or were, referring to one person, one subject. All right, so then we will say she was in third grade last. Yes, we say was in third grade last year. All right, now we're going on to our test, where we are going to complete the sentence with the correct past tense form of to be. So you, do we say you were the best one in the play or you was the best one in the play? So sorry, do we say you were the best one in the play or do we say you was the best one in the play? We need to choose the correct past tense form of to be. All right, so then we can say you were the best one in the play. They, do we say they was brave on the first day of school or they were brave on the first day of school? So they was brave on the first day of school or they were brave on the first day of school? We need to choose the correct one. All right, so if we choose the correct past tense form, then we can say they were, because it refers to more than one person. Brave on the first day of school. Do we say I was happy at my school in Hampton or I were happy at my school in Hampton? We need to either say I was or I were happy at my school in Hampton. All right, so we can say I was happy at my school in Hampton. All right. All right. So in this case, right, we're going to have to choose the correct form, whether it is either in the present tense form or if it is in the past form, right? And remember, we said that if we use I, then in the present tense, it is I am, something that we're doing now. And in the past, we can say I was. And then we also have, for example, he, she, or it, referring to one person, right? In the present tense, we say is, and in the past tense, we say was. And then we have you, we, they, which refers to more than one person or more than one subject. In the present tense, we say are, but in the past tense, we say were. All right. So we can say they busy on Saturday night. Do we say they am, they is busy on Saturday night, they are busy on Saturday night, or they was or will? So we need to choose the correct. So we can then say they were busy on Saturday night. We can say they were busy on Saturday night. And this is in the past. So were. And if we complete the sentence in the correct past tense form of to be, then we either say they on the ground looking for worms. Is that now in the present or in the past? Actually, in the past. So do we say they was or they were on the ground looking for worms? This is in the past. And if it's in the past, then we can say they were on the ground looking for worms. All right. So now, before we end our class, let us quickly do at least one or two questions of our test where we complete the sentence with the correct past tense or form of to be. Do we say they was busy on Saturday night or they were busy on Saturday night? So if we refer to it being more than one person, right, then we can say they were busy on Saturday night. He, do we say he is on the roof fixing the chimney? This is in the present tense. Or he are on the roof fixing the chimney. So if it's he, referring to one person, we say it is. All right. So that is basically our chapter on to be, right? And to have. And we said with our chapter on to be or to have, our verb is irregular. So you are basically just going to have to know the correct form, whether it is in the present or in the past, right? Because there is no rules that it follows, right? It's either you know that singular ones means and the verb is something, or in the like if the subject is plural and then the verb is maybe either in the present, it is are or is, or in the past, it can be was or were. All right, so grade two, this is the end of our lesson on to be and to have. Thank you very much for joining our class, and you should have a good day further. Goodbye.